Okay, this is the next step in the process. We're going to get started with mixing up some colors and getting our sketch a little bit on our painting once we get a little bit of a first glazing on top of our board. So we have oil board here. It's like press board with the canvas on top, kind of like laminated down on top of the paper board. So it's a hardboard we're going to use, and then we'll use a basic simple palette. We'll just use a simple limited palette, but we will use the three primary colors. So if you ever want to look up color wheels, I do have a watercolor channel, so you can always go onto my watercolor channel and check out my color wheels. All you have to do is just type in my name, Chris Petri, color wheels, and you'll see that I've created a video where I cover two basic color wheels. One is the three colors would be alizarin crimson, cad lemon yellow, and French ultramarine blue. And then the other color wheel we covered was the cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and cobalt blue. And you can also create other variations of those three colors to create your secondary colors, which would be orange, green, and violet. So in those videos I explain how you can kind of make a color wheel and then also mix out a group of colors called tertiary colors, which kind of just blend all of these colors a little more to kind of give you more options as far as blending out the main primary colors, which is, red, yellow, blue. So basically, if you have red, yellow, and blue paint, you can mix all the colors you would ever need. And so that just shows you how you can kind of start out with your red, yellow, blue. You mix those together, you get your orange, your green, and your violet. And then if you keep mixing those all together, you can kind of get out into the tertiary colors, which are variations of these colors. So I get into more detail on that on my watercolor channel, but feel free to go check out my watercolor channel and type in just Chris Petri, the color wheel, and you'll see the video where I do cover these two color wheels. You can see how I created these two wheels, and then you can apply that with your oil painting. It's the same thing. Mixing colors is the same if you're using acrylics, oils, or watercolors. So let's first thing, let's do a light glazing over this entire panel here. So let's get our colors out on the wax paper. So I'm using, incidentally, all of my art supplies are down below in the comments section. You might have to click on the word more to see the links, but all those links go to Amazon, and then you'll see all of my art supplies. And I would say that with my art supplies, I only put the ones that I've used on a constant basis for many years. I put those art supplies in that list that you'll see, those links, so that I don't want to be telling you about products that I don't know about, that I haven't used a long time and haven't sort of tried out. And all the art supplies that I put in my comment section down below are all ones that I've used a long time. They work, fantastic, excellent quality. And you can always research other ones too. I don't tell you to definitely buy what I use, but all I'm saying is when I do suggest or have links in my description down below, these are products that I definitely, know they work really well and you won't have a problem with them at all. So let's get started here with the three primaries. We're going to use alizarin crimson. And again, this is artisan water mixable oil color. So I really suggest if you're painting oil paints, and sometimes you might hear me mix up watercolor and oil because I do so many videos with watercolor over the years. I've been on YouTube for over 10 years, approximately 10 years, doing watercolor videos. So sometimes when I'm doing these videos, I get a little, sometimes I say watercolor when I mean oil, but you'll figure it out. Anyway, this is the artisan water mixable oil colors. And these are great because all you need is water. It's pretty much similar to watercolor. You just need a little bit of water to rinse off your brush, a little bit of water to maybe dilute your paint a little bit, and that's all you need. And it washes up with soap and water or just plain water. So if you get some on your clothes, your furniture, anything else, it cleans up really easily. So that's a really great positive about the artisan water mixable oil colors, as well as you're not using any flammable oil, turpentines, terpenoids, paint thinners. You don't need any of that with the water mixable oil colors. You just need water. That's it. So let's just do this. Let's get our alizarin crimson there for our first primary color, and then let's do our yellow. We're going to use yellow ochre. So I'll put some yellow ochre here like that. So we're just squeezing out some colors onto our wax paper, which is by Strathmore palette paper, it's called. Again, it's in the link in the description below. And then we have cerulean blue, again, artisan, Winsor & Newton artisan paint, oil paint, water mixable. So now that you have those three primary colors, you really have everything you need. The only other thing I would mention is you could add like a brown. I'm going to use burnt umber. It's like an earth color, really beautiful color to mix in. So you can always add just a burnt umber if you wanted to, just to maybe gray down some colors if you want to when you're mixing your colors. That's all I mention. So we'll just add that one color, the burnt umber, to our primaries right there, which is the color wheel, if you're thinking in terms of a color wheel. And then, of course, we always need white. We go through a lot of white, so obviously I have a large tube of the Artisan Water Mixable Oil Color, white, titanium white. And I'll put that up top here. I'll just put a little bit of a across the top of the painting, because we're going to use probably quite a bit. And if I don't use it all, I just take a palette knife like this, and I scrape up what I don't use, and I put it in a small container and save it for the next painting. So we're really all set. We have our colors on, our tube colors squeezed out on our wax paper, and now we're going to paint a thin layer of paint with perhaps just a touch of water. You can get a large flat brush if you want, or filbert brush. I think I'll use, let me see what we have here. Okay, I have a large filbert brush. I'm going to use that. The only thing is the handle's quite long, so I might trim this off a little bit and just kind of trim it down to the same size as we have with these other brushes here. So I'll just maybe take my brush and then make a mark on it with a pencil, and I'll just trim this down a little bit. So this is about to at the bottom of the skew tag there. And I'll just use some Lyman's pliers and just kind of crimp around the brush. This is just one of those things where I customize things sometimes to work. If I use this really long brush, it's going to start bumping into my microphone and my camera, actually. So I have to trim down my brushes to work with the video camera and my microphone here at my table. I'm used to working with smaller brushes with the watercolor paints all the time. So I just trim down my brush a little bit, and that'll work fine. I wanted to have a little bit of a larger brush so we can get the paint on there. So the first thing we'll do is we'll add I'm going to call it a warm so I'm going to use blue and red. And a little bit of burnt umber, a little bit of, I think I'll use all three. And I'll just make a little bit of a nice warm kind of color like that, almost like a yellow ochre. And we're just going to cover the whole canvas like this, very, very thin though. You can kind of see how we're just going over with a thin bit of, and we'll actually take a paper towel when we're done and kind of dry it off a little bit with a paper towel. You know, you can make some marks if you want. You can just do some cross hatching if you want to, just so that it's not looking like all one type of brush stroke. I added a little bit of water there to the mix, and that's all. Then we just go around the whole canvas like that. Get that on like so. Work it into the cotton application that they have over the hardboard. And then once you have that, then we can actually just take some paper towel like this, some paper towel. And you can actually just blot up a little bit if you want, like that, with a paper towel. That little bit of texture look is fine. That actually would work really well. Okay, it's a little bit light. You can leave it a little darker. You can even do this like a day before and leave it a little darker. Your first prime coat, your first prime glazing, you can do that ahead of time like we just did here. You can do that a day ahead of time, let it dry, or 2 days. It may take a couple days to dry. And then you come back and paint over it. We're going to paint over it anyway, since we have it pretty much somewhat dry just by taking the paper towel and just giving it a good there we go. And then what I'll do is I'll also clean up my palette a little bit. And I usually don't worry about it too much because we're going to be mixing all the colors, but and again, we saw the finished painting when we started with. This is a Indian temple. So we have a figure, a seated figure here. We have the temple here with some a dome on top of these columns, and we have a little bit of a spire in the background, and we have some really good looking foliage here, some trees in the background. So we have really good structure to work with. Let's take our charcoal. Let me see if I can find my charcoal pencil. All right, so what I'll do is we'll take a quick break. I have to find some charcoal. I thought I had some here at my table. Maybe we can use some pencil here. That might work too. That's fine. We can use pencil. So what we'll do is we'll take our pencil line and we'll just kind of look here and see our reference photo, and we'll kind of start to plan out where everything is going to kind of be located on the canvas. So here we can kind of see that the underside of the dome in here, the temple area, that's about halfway across. So we can maybe make a pencil line like that. We can take a ruler if we want to and kind of go across here. It's on a little bit of an angle. So if you can see that in the photograph, it's on a little bit of an angle. So it's not quite straight level. It's got a little bit of an angle to it like that. So we'll do that same thing. We'll put our ruler down and give that a little bit of an angle just to start out with, like that. So hopefully you can see that. We have an angle up here, and then maybe about a little bit in from the edge over here, we have that column. So that column's about here. So that's where this goes a little bit this way. So that angles down a little bit like this. Just a touch like that. And then the top of the temple floor is about this much above the bottom of the painting. So we'll get a little bit of a feel for that. It comes down on a little bit of an angle like this. And then it goes on a little bit of an angle this way. Like that. And there's a step over here, so there's a step over here. So then we kind of, let's make our column. So we can maybe take that column and put it over this way. And don't worry about it if you lean into your paint. Sometimes it's better to sketch maybe beforehand. So the reason why it sometimes is best to prime your canvas first is you can do your drawing on your canvas first, and then once you're done with your drawing on your canvas, then you can put out your paint, because already I'm starting to lean in and get my hands into the paint over here on the left side. So just a kind of an indication of some better processes, and sometimes I'll just mention that I haven't done something that I think would be, sometimes there's ways to do things a little better. I think it's better to prime your canvas first, let it dry a couple days, then come back and then sketch it first with your pencil drawing or your charcoal, and then you put out your paints, and this way you're not leaning into paints and things like that, because I just noticed twice I've already put my hands into the paint, and that can be a problem sometimes. So in any case, let's get the columns in here. So I'm just going to make an indication of a column. These columns look almost plumb, not much of a taper to them, straight. And they corbel up toward the underside. There's also a flag that's over here coming down on an angle. And that's sort of hanging there. There's two flags. It looks like a red and a white, or an orange and a white. So I'll put those there like this. And then we have more very ornate stonework on this temple, so I wouldn't get too bogged down with too many details. I would try to keep it kind of simple. So we'll make the other column over here. That one's a little thinner. It corbels up like that too. And then as we go up over here, you can kind of see that the right edge of this column is almost the same line that goes all the way up like this, where the dome is. And then it comes across here, and then it goes that way. And then the dome is in from this right side of the column coming up. The dome is in quite a bit, like over here. And that seems to be the dome, up close. The point, the very, very point top of the dome, it looks like it's right over the column, maybe a little bit to the right. So that would be the dome, the top of the dome here, where the center point of the dome itself. Like that. There's another dome over here. Keep things simple. I think we'll just leave this one dome. We won't put that second dome in over here. We'll just leave that one as it is. And then there's another area over here. There's some more dome shapes. So I'm just trying to notice that this dome here, the top of this dome, is lower than up here. So I make sure I capture that. There's a sphere on top of that dome over here, and I might leave the other area over here. Looks like even a larger dome yet. I'm going to let that just be. I'm just going to do the two, this one and this one, and then there's some more structures over here. Top of the temple. There's some more. So this is going to be covered by trees, so I don't think I'm going to get too much, work it as we go. But this should be a really fun painting, not too many difficult colors to mix. It's kind of a straightforward color scheme. We'll, again, work out the colors as we go, but I think it'll be pretty fun to do this one. Not too many challenging things going on. All right, so let's get started again, and I'll rinse off my brush another time. I'll get some more paper towel. So I have my paper towels always in hand. Rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water. And then we're going to start to maybe mix up. I think the next thing we'll do is mix up some greens to get some of the large areas of the green foliage here. So that's really our next game plan. So yellow ochre and cerulean blue, that gets us a nice olivey green. Then we can take some burnt umber, maybe a little bit of a darker green with a little bit of alizarin crimson there, just to, with some more blue for some shadow colors. And let's start to get in some. And I'm just going to really have a fun time. I'm doing some cross hatching like this. Up here, I'll try to blend this. So the outer edges of my painting, I'm going to leave that very diffused and light as far as details, not a lot of details on the edges of the painting. And then maybe as I come in here, I'll do some more leaf kind of shapes and things like that. I'll leave some areas where there's the prime coat that we used. I'm going to leave some of that showing through. We'll mix some more yellow ochre and cerulean blue, and if you need more paint, always remember, squeeze out your paint if you need. It's much better to squeeze out more paint just to make sure that you have enough color. So, you don't want to sacrifice not squeezing out more paint and then have your colors not look the way you want them to. So if you just need a little more blue to, put into your green to get it to look good. This is like an olivey green we're using. Please, do that. Take a second, get those colors back onto the. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some of the dome area where there's some leaf forms and things, and then other areas maybe not so much, so that it doesn't feel like it's like we're just kind of see, I kind of did that. I silhouetted. I didn't want to do that actually. So maybe we can fix a little bit of that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to leave some of that prime coat that we have underneath. I want to leave that here and there showing through, as if we can see through the trees and there's some sky showing through, just like this. You can kind of see that there's some sky colors behind the tree leaves and the limbs and the branches and all of the tree leaves. So that's what I want to kind of have, that same look. And there's some more greens over here, so I'm going to pick up some of that green. Now you can see I'm going a little thicker with the paint, which is fine. You can get some more of a yellowish green if you want to add a little more golden colors if you'd like to. I would put some of that golden color, and as well as the green, a little bit here and there in the painting. Mix it around. Try to harmonize the colors as much as you can. So I'm going to try to take that yellow and green mix that we've been using all the way up here, and I'm going to start to mix it around a little bit into the painting. And that's just really a good way of ensuring that your painting's not going to look like disjointed and it's not harmonized, the colors. So you can always take those yellows and those greens that we've created and get them into the different areas of the painting that you've already painted. You can go right over. little spots of colors. Never. So I took yellow and red and just, you know, kind of in a impasto fashion or a loose fashion, a little couple brush strokes here and there of the red and the blue and the gold. You can take a couple of the blue, red, and gold, the three primaries that you're using here, and you just kind of dab those on here and there. And that goes a long way as to harmonizing all the colors together in the painting. Then I'm going to rinse my brush off again. Then I'll empty my water quick. Put some fresh water in. But we're making good progress. I think we're almost there, actually. I'm just blending in a little bit of the bottom area there. Okay, so I'm tending to think that I'm just going to leave that the first glazing that we put on, the priming, that prime coat. I'm just going to leave that the way it is. I'm not going to try to go over it. I thought I was going to use white for this painting. Maybe we could use a little. Let's see how it looks. You can always try out a little bit of color. So maybe a little bit of white. Let's see how it looks if we take some of that and maybe do a couple highlights here. Maybe it'll look good. Okay, maybe that does look all right. Let's do a couple of those. Okay, so if we add in a little bit of the white with a little bit of the yellow ochre and green, we do get a good bit of highlight. So we can do that for some highlights on this. And we can also make the clothing of the figure here the same way. But I would use it sparingly. I wouldn't go too much bonkers with the white here. I think just a little bit is going to look good. And that's the top, like that. So yeah, we could, you know, when you think about it, it's using this little bit of white sparingly here in this painting is going to work for us really well, because we're going to get some of these details that we wanted to get. The sphere on the top there. So it does kind of add some nice sparkle to the painting. Here and there. So that can give us some good flexibility to have a little more tonal value range if you're adding in some white paint mixed in with a little bit of the yellow ochre. We can, again, add some highlights to the columns. But I think at this point we really are coming to a conclusion here, I think. Again, some more highlights. And that's pretty simple. I can tell you that we didn't work to, this is not a lot of tremendous amount of effort with when you use the white, the titanium white mixed in with a little bit of the yellow ochre and the green. It looks almost like an off-white, like almost like a yellowy ochre mixed in with the white. And then you can just add a couple of those highlights here and there. And I think that really does, kind of really give us a good bit of some details. And I'm just going to kind of look at this painting over here, this photograph, and try to just do the same thing. Where are those white highlights? I'm just going to put them in. And then when you start to see that the white paint gets a little bit dull, then that means you just have to go in and pick up some more fresh paint. And then we'll just, let's do our figure next. I'll rinse off my brush again. I'll get a new paper towel. So I'll rinse off my brush really well, dry off the paint and the water off the brush like that really well so it's nice and dry. And then I'm going to pick up some more white and make that even brighter. But I will have a little bit of that yellow ochre kind of look to it. And I think I'm going to use maybe a round brush. Let me go in and see if I can find a round brush here in my arsenal of paintbrushes. Yep, I do have a round brush. So I have a smaller round brush, synthetic brush. And since it's round, you can kind of see I can roll it around like that. And it's got a good point on it. Like that. And that just helps me to get the figure a little more rendered a little bit better. So this will just do that. Shoulder over on the left side of the figure. The shoulder over there, it's more diminished because it's further away from us. And then over here, the right shoulder is more, you can see more of the figure, the right side of the figure. And just really simple, he's seated, and then he's got the his religious clothing on. And I'll make it, I won't go with too many details. I think if I just go with less is more with our figures. Okay, and then we're going to do some orange for the headdress. So I'll make some orange for the headdress with some white. Maybe I'll just rinse off my brush and start over again, because I noticed that if I use the white, it's not really looking so great. So I'll get more red and yellow straight paint at this point. Straight paint, red and yellow, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. That looks better. Then we'll get some darker flesh tone. mixed in with that. So I just pick up some brown, mix it in with the orange, burnt umber, mixed in with that orange, get a more of a darker skin tone. And then we're just going to put that there, like that. And we're going to, some arms there, like that. Maybe a couple, and I think that's fine. That really is enough with, you know, kind of avoiding too many details with the figure. That just gives us the indication of the figure there. Looks good. I'm not going to fuss around with it too much. We can go back and do a little more detail work if we want to. And again, more, you know, kind of like impressionistic style. We're kind of just having a fun time with our brush strokes. We're not getting too super accurate, you know, just try to get some interesting details in the... But I think that's good. I think we have accomplished everything. The only thing we have to do is one more thing here. I did notice that these banners and things and flags over here on the left side by this column, let's get those in. Again, those are kind of a red, orangey red. We'll use thicker paint, so I'll pick up some good thick paint there. Red and yellow. Yellow ochre and alizarin crimson. And I'll pick up the paint with the brush, and then I'll just try to kind of get the overall... looks more red. Okay. Then we have a white maybe a touch of blue. Make it kind of a cooler white. And if you have to start over again, we rinse off our brush really well. So if you see your colors get contaminated with another different color that you're looking for, maybe a bluer white, and the next thing you know, your brush has some of that red and yellow in it, rinse off your brush really well. If you're seeing like your color's not where you want it to be at, and then, you know, you just start again up here, and then you just go in with a touch of blue, and maybe we'll make that just a little bit of a cooler white up here. And then we'll do that here. And that's sort of like a banner, it looks like. And we're going with the thicker paint. So I'm going to get lots of thick paint there. Like that. And this is where the thick paint helps out. Using really thick paint because it sort of really sticks on the on the board. Like that. So that looks pretty good. And then we'll just make the pole, the flag pole that goes across here. You can always, if you don't want to lean into your paint, you can always take a brush maybe. Anything you might have that's like a wooden dowel or something like that. So I'm going to use a wooden dowel. Sometimes I use different things when I'm working on projects and things, so I have some wood dowels left over here and there. So I'll just take that dowel like this and maybe just rest it on the canvas like this, and I'll try to get that. And then I'll just slide the brush across the dowel like this. And maybe I'll get lots of paint on there so I can get the line pretty accurate. Like that. So that looks pretty good. I think it's again, I'll dry off the brush, rinse it off, dry off the brush, and then I might try to get that a little more where this goes like that. That looks better. And then maybe even make a little small. Like that, just so that it feels like we're looking at something like a pole coming down with a little more detail on it to explain it a little better. And we could also go in with a little more darks here, just to go around this area here. So if you see that you need to add some darks into the painting here. So I noticed the column might be a little bit too wide there, so we can go in like that. Can thin up that column there. Here the paint's a little bit, I rinse my brush and the paint's a little bit thinner, and there's times when you can go over with thinner paint. So you have to feel it out. Again, oil painting is fun. It's a great process to learn. Oil painting, a great medium to work with. I'm really excited about it. I'm always eager to learn new things about it, and each time I paint and work in oils, I tend to kind of like learn new things and be aware of what's happening when I'm working with the oils and seeing how they all kind of, all the different ways we tend to put on the paint onto the canvas. I try to make sure I'm like aware of what's going on so I can remember for the next time what I can do to, you know, help things along a little better, make my paintings look a little better each time. But I think we have a finished painting here. Looks good. We'll peel off the tape maybe and see how that everything looks. Once you have a border around it, it looks a little better. So if we just peel our tape off, I have some drafting tape on my canvas. And again, it leaks underneath the tape a little bit, but the main thing is we do have the tape on there, and it does kind of help us to isolate the composition. And then, you know, we can do a few little extra, maybe a couple of lines here on the ground here that maybe like indications of maybe some large slabs of stone that have joints, separations in the stones. So if we do that, we just put a couple of those lines like that in our foreground. That goes a long way. But again, I would avoid fussing around too much. I get in trouble too doing that, trying to fuss around at the end of a painting. Let's leave it kind of as if we have to pick up everything, all of our easels and our paints and brushes, and get all our gear, and we have to go to another location to paint somewhere else if we're on a trip or something, right? If we're on a workshop overseas somewhere, maybe we're in India, we're painting this beautiful temple here, and then next thing you know, the guide says it's time, we have to get going to the next destination, so there's no time for fussing around too much. We just try to kind of get everything wrapped up as best we can for the time being, and then we'll move on. So we can add a little line there. I see that same line there in the picture. So I hope you had a fun time. Let's come back again very, very soon. I always mention, feel free to subscribe on the right-hand side below if you like these oil paintings that we're creating, and we're doing all kinds of different subject matter on this channel. You can do some recapturing some of the lights so that we don't have our domes looking like they're cut out and pasted on the paper. So you can lift up with some paper towel like that. Kind of blend in some edges like that. Same thing over here. You could blend in a couple edges like that. So all right, so again, we've had a lot of fun working on this beautiful Indian temple. And we'll see you on the next video. Again, enjoy your journey painting in oils, and I'm going to try to be here at least once a week, or at least every 2 weeks. I can't always work every week on oils, but I guarantee I'm going to be trying to get to that goal of making one oil video a week, oil painting video a week. But if I don't get to that level right away, we'll definitely work on at least one oil painting every other week. Okay, until next time, happy painting, everybody.